Man, unlike woman, is beautiful because man, unlike woman, is a thinking creature. Ms. Vilar does not mince words. Welcome back to Far From Eden. Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden. Almost forgot the hi. This is the 5th installment of this book. I don't know why I'm even not mentioning it. That first sentence alone is going to demonetize this video. Oh well. Sometimes I like to outsmart the YouTube robots, but sometimes the message just is what it is, and there's just no way you can alter it a little bit. And I wouldn't want to alter what she is saying here. This is the 6th chapter, and it is entitled "The Universe is Male." You guys, I've done a little perusal, and this is it's interesting. So let's get started. As I said, man, unlike woman, is beautiful because man, unlike woman, is a thinking creature. This means man has a thirst for knowledge. He wants to know what the world around him looks like and how it functions. Man thinks. He draws conclusions from the data he encounters. Man is creative. He makes something new out of the information achieved by the above processes. Man is sensitive as a result of his exceptionally wide, multidimensional emotional scale. He not only registers the commonplace in fine gradations, but he creates and discovers new emotional values and makes them accessible to others through sensible descriptions or recreates them as an artist. Isn't that interesting? Because how often are women talking about that the man isn't in touch with his feelings, right? He's not in touch with his feelings. She just listed all these things. And then she said man is sensitive. Is. Not needs to learn it, not needs to be trained to become it. That he is. And I agree with her. That is what I have found. I have found that. Think about the compositions, the love songs, the love poems, the love stories that have been written by men. How is that even possible if they're not in touch with their feelings and they just don't understand those things? Maybe they show some temperance and they're not emotionally reactive like some people can be. And then women interpret that as, oh, well, you're not as in touch with them because you're not expressing them all the time. Or better yet, you're not expressing them the way she thinks you should, which means more like how she does. But that creates a very volatile situation. And we know from DV accounts where the most DV happens. And it's usually when there are 2 females in the couple. Why would that be? How could that possibly be? If women are so sensitive and communicative and gentle and all these things, then that wouldn't be the case, would it? No, it wouldn't. So, I would love to, they always ask the question, like, who would you have dinner with? Wouldn't this lady be amazing to have dinner with? I would have so many questions to how she came to all of these conclusions and realizations, because she's right on so many of them. Like I said before, this is the only thing that I feel like I differ from her is that I do acknowledge a deity. I do acknowledge God, and I am a Christian. Not in the Michael Knowles sense, not in the, beta sense where it's like the hyper feminized church where, the women are just holy and honorable and the men are just need to learn to be better. I mean, that's just not at all what it's about. So she's extremely secular, but it doesn't mean she's wrong. She's observing natural law. She's observing objective truth. It doesn't mean it's wrong because we disagree with where that truth derives. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit the like button. My little dog Lola, when she distracts me, that reminds me to remind you guys to hit the like button. I forget. It's never like the most important thing to me, but it does help get the message out. And wouldn't it be great if we could get men learning about this book? And I mean the men who are still thinking, oh, the women are sugar and spice and all things nice. Wouldn't it be great if we were like, yeah, but would you read this book, please? Would you please understand that happy wife, happy life is not even how you're supposed to do it, let alone it's not possible. You can't make her feel stuff a certain way for all the rest of her days. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I digress. Of all the qualities of man, his curiosity is certainly the most impressive. This curiosity differs basically from that of woman. A woman takes interest only in subjects that have an immediate personal usefulness to her. That sounds like a narcissist. Weird. Weird, right? Wow. Yeah, that is absolutely true. For example, if she reads a political article in the newspaper, it is highly likely that she wants to cast a spell on some political science student. Not that she cares about the fate of the Chinese, Israelis, or South Africans. Just a reminder, this was written in 1971. So it's amazing how you could just say this today. Nobody would know any different. Like if this is your first introduction to this book and you've heard me reading it so far, did you have any idea it was written in 1971? It's timeless. It seems to be timeless, at least post-feminism. It makes sense because before that, they weren't allowed to act the way they act and use men the way they use men. Seems like that almost was the purpose. If she looks up the names of some Greek philosophers in the dictionary, it does not mean she has suddenly taken an interest in Greek philosophy. It means she is trying to solve a crossword puzzle. If she is studying the advertisements for a new car, she is not doing it with a platonic interest in its technical features, but because she wants to own it. Oh boy, that's true. It is a fact that most women, mothers included, generally have no idea how the human fetus is formed, how it develops in the womb, or what stages it passes through before birth. Of course, it is entirely unnecessary for her to know about these things, since they cannot influence the development of the embryo anyway. Not 1971 in the United States, they couldn't. But what's interesting, she's right, and I can demonstrate it by saying that even a lot of atheist men are against fetus deletus. They're against it. Why? Because they understand, well, that biologists say it's a life at conception. So that's not a good thing to extinguish that. They can say that. They understand at least the science of it, right? There are Christian women who are pro-choice. The disconnect from facts, if we have seen it more than ever this past election season. We've seen it. We've seen absolute disconnect from facts when they were all melting down because, oh my gosh, Project 2025. And it's like, that's not even his plan. Like, there are like, and just objective facts. Facts that talk about the feminism types. And it's not just women. Sometimes it's entire entities, like platforms, so to speak. Certain platforms. Not going to mention any names, but, you know, the primary one where I release my videos. You can't talk about who men are and who women are and who they are not. Can't talk about that. Why? Because we are denying facts. We're doing that en masse, and that is seems to be more of a female thing. In the name of compassion, of course. Because they feel more, right? We're back to that again. Because they're more compassionate, more sensitive. Are they? Sensitive to what? Well, that's a whole other show, right? I should write that down right now, but we are reading this. It is only important to know that a pregnancy lasts 9 months and that for the duration, one must take care of oneself. And in case of complications, immediately consult one's doctor, who will, of course, restore everything in order. Man, they don't even do that as much anymore. Take care of yourself because you're pregnant. Very few. There's a lot of babies born addicted. That's all I'm saying. And a lot of babies that are probably tainted by substances and no one's talking about it. But I think that's going on. This doesn't, wow. We really have fallen far. Man's curiosity is something quite different. His desire for knowledge has no personal implications, is purely objective, and in the long run, is much more practical than a woman's attitude. One has only to watch a man go past a building site where a newly developed machine is being used. For example, a new kind of dredger. There is hardly a man, regardless of social status, who will pass by without a glance. Many will stop to have a good look and to discuss the characteristics of the new machine, its advantages and disadvantages, and its differences from previous models. It's true. A woman would never think of stopping at a building site unless, of course, the crowd was so big that she thought she might miss something exciting, like construction worker smushed by big machine, bulldozer. In that case, she would demand to know all the details and then look the other way. Oh, it's so true. And honestly, like I've never stopped and looked at the machine and been like, oh, wow. But I don't think that, do men really want that in women? Because that, if we did, wouldn't that mean that we're just another dude? And time again, what I have heard from you guys is that you're not looking just to have another dude, right? That's not what you want for a date or a relationship or whatever. So she may come to that later, but yes, if women are trying to be men, we are complete failures. But because just like Dr. Peterson said, women are more interested in people, men are more interested in things. And that's true. But I don't know if it's that men are more interested in people than women are interested in things. That's definitely true. Is there a utility for women to be more interested in people? Absolutely. Because if we're the ones having the babies or we're supposed to be having babies and raising them, right? In my perfect world, and teaching them, homeschooling them, etc. It's a good thing that we're interested in people and that we find people interesting. I just said that twice backwards, but you know what I mean? Because then that will hold our attention and our interest and everything. Whereas if we're just like, let's see how this, machine works while the baby cries, you can't do that. Not that men do. Men would never prioritize a machine over a crying baby. I'm learning a lot from Ms. Vilar, and I wanted to challenge my factory settings, my programming. If there's anything that needs to be altered, or, if I need more truth in there, I wanted to go in there. So you guys can witness that as it happens, I suppose. Oh, I think she's going to say what I just said. Man's curiosity is universal. There's almost nothing that does not interest him, whether it is politics, botany, nuclear physics, or God knows what. Even subjects out of his province hold his interest, such as bottling fruit, preparing cake mix, or caring for a baby. And a man could not be pregnant for months without knowing all the functions of the placenta and ovaries in detail. Men not only observe the world around them, it is in their nature to make comparisons and to apply the knowledge they have gained elsewhere with the ultimate aim to transform this newfound knowledge into something else, something new. Absolutely. That's how we've had these great societies built, because men kept, inventing and creating. Men not only observe the world around them, it is in their nature to make comparisons and to apply the knowledge they have gained elsewhere, with the ultimate aim to transform this newfound knowledge into something else, something new. I can't get over it. Y'all are made in his image, in God's image, and God is the ultimate creator. So it stands to reason that you guys would create also. I wanted to read that and make sure that it was, how I read it. Men are the creators. That's absolutely true. One need not emphasize the fact that practically all inventions and discoveries in this world have been made by men, and not only in the fields of electricity, aerodynamics, gynecology, cybernetics, mathematics, quantum mechanics, hydraulics, and the origin of the species. In addition, men have devised the principles of child psychology and infant nutrition, as well as pasteurization and other means of preserving food. Even the changes in women's fashions or other such trivial matters as the creation of new menus and palatal nuances are traditionally the province of men. That is true. Even those things, like the top chefs in the world are men. How can that possibly be? If one wishes to have an unusual culinary treat, generally one will not find it at home, but at a restaurant, where, of course, the chef is male. A woman's sense of taste is so blunted and deadened by the repetitive preparation of unimaginative, run-of-the-mill, tasteless, everyday cooking. Even if she wanted to try out new foods, she would not be capable of it. Well, fewer women do that, that's for sure. You don't really see that demonstrated even today. Now, this was 1971. So back then, the argument of, well, we haven't had the chance to, we haven't been allowed to work in such a long, for so long that we're only just getting started. Well, this is what, 53 years later? What's your excuse now, ladies? There is none. There's no oppression. People are trying to lift you up, trying to get you into these fields, to prove how equal or even superior you are, but it's just not happening. It's like, I can't figure out why that would be, except that maybe we are not equal. Certainly are not superior. I got so fired up, I lost my spot. The next sentence is, women are good for almost nothing. That's what it says. Okay. With many gifts, man would appear to be ideally suited, both mentally and physically, to lead a life both fulfilled and free. Instead, excuse me, little doggy, you must stop that, okay? Please hit the like button. Both mentally and physically, to lead a life both fulfilled and free. Instead, he chooses to become a slave, placing his many discoveries at the service of those who are incapable of creation themselves, at the service of mankind, man's own synonym for women, and of the children of these women. Wow. She seems angry at men for appreciating women at all. But I think it's because of what they subjugate themselves to. It's like, yeah, appreciate them, but that doesn't mean bend over backwards and lead the happy wife, happy life thing. That's like, you're better than that. I think she's trying to say that you men are better than leading the happy wife, happy life routine, doing that whole routine. I had a friend of mine send me a message today showing me his sons were getting rid of the leaves on the driveway. And I noticed it was their grandmother's driveway. He's divorced, so he was showing me the kids doing that. And I said, just make sure that they are doing it as good stewards of the land and one day their land, and not because they are, how did I word it? That they are slaves to the woman folk. We don't want to do that, right? Because they don't need to follow in his old footsteps. And he very much needs this sort of help to know that he's more valuable than he's ever seen himself, So just shared a little of the wisdom in real life to try to build him up so that he never goes back and isn't susceptible to the ex's digs and demands, etc., and doesn't see himself as less than, because he's clearly not. He's clearly not. So, and no, I'm not interested in him. He's like a little brother to me. So, How paradoxical that this very sex, which is capable of leading a life as nearly perfect as possible, is prepared to give it up, to offer it all to the female sex, which is not interested in such perfection. We have grown so accustomed to the blunted mechanism of one-sided exploitation of one group of human beings by a parasitic clique that all our moral values have become completely perverted. Absolutely agree. And that's what I was talking about in the Christian church. They've absolutely been perverted. Without really giving the matter any thought, we consider the male sex as a kind of Sisyphus. He has come into the world to learn, to work, and to father children. His sons, in their turn, will learn to work and produce children, and so it will continue forever. It has become almost impossible to think why else men should be here. I know. And I think this is a huge reason why this book, they don't ban it because they don't want that kind of publicity. They know the best way to silence somebody is to just hide it. If they ban it, people go, "Oh yeah? What don't you want me to read? And who are you to tell me?" They just go, "Oh no, that's nothing. There's nothing to see here." If a young man gets married, I'm sorry, we are going to pause because that is obnoxious. My window is open. Oh my gosh. I really wonder what Esther Vilar would have to say about women not teaching their children to behave or mind or any of that, because they just seem feral. So, I mean, they don't seem interested in those little humans anymore. Just themselves and how to elevate themselves. So, wow, not the day to have the window open and enjoy the relatively warm winter air. Goodness gracious. Oh boy. It's unsettling to me. It's just unsettling when the children are misbehaving, because it's just not right. Those children who are misbehaving like that, they're not happy. They have no good boundaries, no healthy boundaries, because most of these kids just, they don't have dads. They don't have fathers. Wow. If a young man gets married, starts a family, and spends the rest of his life working at a soul-destroying job, he is held up as an example of virtue and responsibility. Sounds like the boomers were. And by the time we've gotten to these generations, these more like Gen Z and millennials, they're the ones that are like, this doesn't make me good. This is empty. I'm just empty. I'm being used. They're figuring it out, Esther. They're figuring it out now. And they're walking away. The other type of man, living only for himself, working only for himself, doing first one thing and then another simply because he enjoys it and because he has to keep only himself, sleeping where and when he wants, and facing woman when he meets her on equal terms and not as one of a million slaves, is rejected by society. Yep. The free, unshackled man has no place in its midst. Oh, she's talking about dudes who are MGTOW. That's a MGTOW guy. The free, unshackled man has no place in its midst. Right? And look at how they view that type of man. You guys are a terrorist group in England. Or they were moving to do it. I don't know if they actually were successful in it, but We covered that on the show. We talked about how they were trying to say, what was it? Masculinism, they called it. Not masculinity, masculinism, because we got to advance the words because we want them to mean something different, because we want people to believe different things. Wow. Yeah, she's talking about that. She's talking about MGTOW men and how if they're like, no, thank you, that they're seen as, that they're rejected by society. Wow. How depressing it is to see men year after year betraying all that they were born to do. New worlds could be discovered. Worlds one hardly dares even to dream of could be opened by the minds, strength, and intelligence of men. Things to make life fuller and richer, their own life, that is, of which women are ignorant. Definitely getting demonetized. And more worthwhile could be developed. All these things could be done by men. Instead, they forsake all these tremendous potentials and permit their minds and their bodies to be shunted onto sidings to serve the repulsively primitive needs of women. She's not wrong. Man has the key to every mystery of the universe in his hand, but he ignores it. He lowers himself to the level of woman and insinuates himself into her favor. Certainly does. That is what marriage is nowadays. That is what marriage has become. Do the right thing, men, get married. It's a huge thing I disagree with Andrew Wilson on. Like, you don't get it, dude. Okay, well, men want to marry women. Where are they? Men don't want to have children only for those children to be, alienated from him and learn to highly dislike him, despise him even, and then have no contact. But like, why? Like, that's not what they want. That is not a marriage. As long as no fault divorce exists, and as long as these attitudes are pervasive in women, marriage doesn't exist. You walk down the aisle and say some things and sign a contract. What does that even mean? It doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean. And let's say for a second that you find a woman who says she's traditional, says she wants to submit, even obey. I have heard of cases where the woman said obey in the vows. And that was where it ended, right? It was in front of people, behind closed doors, mouthing off, disrespecting, all the rest of it. And no one knew. Everybody saw a different type of person. I've seen this time and time again where they're totally different in public with the husband, and then behind closed doors, just horribly nasty, screaming all the rest of it. And so what exactly? Like, okay, you want men to get married. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because marriage isn't marriage anymore and women aren't women anymore. So make it make sense. Make it make sense, Michael Knowles. How is that doing the right thing? How is playing into a lie the right thing? Because I respect Andrew Wilson on a lot of things. I respect Michael Knowles and agree with Michael Knowles on several things. But I just cannot. I cannot with this. Because if you love men, if there are men in your life that you care about and you love, why would you lead them to that slaughter? Why would you take a chance of it? Okay, so maybe not all marriages end in divorce. Well, okay, maybe she didn't ever file because he had to play the happy wife, happy life, so she wouldn't, steal from him, steal the children, all the rest of it. What did he have to do in that marriage to prevent that? Like, that's not okay. And I just don't understand how men can say that to other men. Is it because they think that they have found a good one, so therefore you can find a good one too? Now, Rachel Wilson, he may have found a good one in her. That they might be solid, and they may go the whole, they may make it all the way to the end. And I think that she does listen to him. I 100% believe that. But that is so unbelievably rare. The Michael Knowles situation, I don't know. Again, he's got a lot of resources. He's got status. He's got his health. Maybe, maybe he'll always have that. And a better prospect will never present itself to her. Maybe. But we all know the truth. We all know that you guys, most men, that is not the average man situation. So, it's all very well for them to say that and have those opinions, but I implore both those men and men like them, go out and talk to other men. Please. Go out and talk to kids who were raised seeing this. Like, they're not kids now, but like, go talk to some Gen Z and see, even some millennials, and let's see, talk to me. I've seen some stuff. I saw some stuff growing up, a lot of which has allowed these revelations to happen. It was a long time coming because you have such denial about your own parents, etc., and it doesn't change. I love my parents, right? And I always will. But truth is important. And if I can help prevent men from going through a lot of what my father went through, I'm sure going to do it. And it's not just him. But it took me seeing some men in my adult life in the last 5 or 10 years to see what they've been through and go, oh, okay. And then to really be able to say, okay, this is what I witnessed as a child. And it's so different than what, even most kids my age experienced. And you get to a certain point where you go, that is not okay. It's not okay. So I can call out that behavior without calling out the person themselves, because this generational sin that has made people live so disordered, so out of God's order in the way they behave, the choices they make, etc. I can look back generations and go, yep, doesn't excuse any of it, but it sure explains a whole lot. And what do you do when you figure stuff out? If you go, oh yeah, well, I touched, if this was the first stove ever and I didn't know it was gonna be, or I was like an alien from another planet and had my alien friends and I was like, oh, it's hot. What's the first thing I'm gonna do? Tell my other alien friends that the stove is hot. Because I just learned it. So that's what I'm gonna do. But it blows my mind that she was already saying the men who don't behave like slaves are basically shunned from society. And now that has even more. You guys are dangerous and you're this, that, and the other. They want to say you're all Andrew Tate, which I don't know. He may be a psyop just to take all of these real issues that men face and put a face on it that looks like that. To put the pickup artist as if that's you guys. It's not at all. They want to talk about pickup artists because they don't want to talk about family court. That's what it is. They don't want to talk about family court. They don't want to have that conversation because it doesn't look good for them. Who's them? Not just females. The overlords, the globalists, the elite, whatever name you want to call them. Please be careful about what names you call them in the comments and the chat, okay? I don't need any, although YouTube does a lot of deleting comments without me even knowing, so. But just be careful, because while you might be right, because I don't know what you're going to call them, but you might be right, but it doesn't mean that it's going to do very well to say it. on YouTube. It's just going to hurt the entire message. So I am going to stop there in this chapter because there's just so much. I mean, we found MGTOW. She seemed like she's pro MGTOW to me. I mean, in 1971. Think about it. She just experienced the 60s. They had all witnessed the 60s. And she was like, yeah, you're probably better off investing in yourself and remaining alone. Tell me what other thing that could be called, because we have a name for it now. Incredible. Incredible. Oh, today's also a little bit of a painful day. And I'm just telling you that because I know there's going to be some of you that are like, are you feeling okay? You don't seem like, and there's no need to worry, nothing. It's totally fine. I'm good. I wanted to make a video today. I wanted to be with you guys today. This feeds my soul. Truth feeds my soul. Sharing it with you guys feeds my soul. Spending time with you guys in the chat when we have our premiere feeds my soul. So I selfishly wanted to make a video. So make sure you feed your souls. Make sure you protect your peace. I love you guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.